You're listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show, where wealth is empowering, purpose is crucial, and high vibes are non-negotiable. And now, here's your host, certified business coach and practical woo strategist, Sarah J. Loureiro.
All right, beauties, welcome back to another episode of the Uplevel Your Online Business Show. And this episode I am dedicating to one of my brand new clients because she just read one of my posts. I can't even remember how long ago I wrote this, but she just loved it so much. And I know that I get so many comments every time that reuse this post in my business because we do recycle quite a few different types of content, which if you are not doing that in your business, I highly recommend it, especially if there are pieces of content that you had over a year ago and your new people haven't seen it. But she liked it so much. I liked it so much. And I think that the post and the contents of it could really go deeper, which is why I am devoting a podcast episode to this. So this is all about how to hold on to your vision without strangling it, right? So holding on to what it is that you really want without necessarily trying to control every single little piece of it. And within that comes goal fatigue. And I know that when you're just starting out, you don't necessarily know what goal fatigue is. And I think that it's a really nice time because we are so naive and we're like, yes, I'm going to hit this one goal. And we get so excited about it. But if you're more of a seasoned entrepreneur and if you've been there over and over again, and you've been setting goals for yourself over and over again that you haven't been hitting, then this episode is for you, especially if you feel like you're experiencing what I like to call goal fatigue or goal burnout. This is really common, especially for us high achievers, overachievers, high performers, where we know that setting goals really makes us more energized, it makes us more motivated. But at the same time, the whole idea of not hitting that goal is also so scary. And the meanings that we attach to those goals are actually more of the problem. And so the first thing that I wanted to say here, because I think it's so important, is that it's not your goals that are the issue. And it's not you setting goals that is the issue. And I know that when I take a look at social media, I see so many people talking about, calm down. You have so much time to get there. And so much about self-care. And, what if you don't need to build an empire? And I love those things. But I also feel like for high achievers and high performers, we can get caught up in the, high achieving and high performing is actually a bad thing because it's not conducive to our self-care and our self-love, right? And I know that I correlated both of those two things for a really long time. I correlated my need for achievement and goals to a lack of self-love. And I now understand that those two things don't have to be correlated at all. You can be a high achiever. You can be a really amazing goal getter, and you can still have so much love for yourself. You can still go through your business without any shame, without any embarrassment. It's all about the attachment that you have to the goal. And so if you ever heard someone say, you just have to be unattached to the goal, it's like, well, yeah, but how the heck do you do that, right? It's so hard to not be attached to this one goal that you've just made your biggest why in your business. And it's a hard thing to do, but it's not impossible. And I really do feel like when I first heard people say, you just need to unattach yourself to the goal, I always thought, well, okay, it's easy for you to say that. Okay, but how do I even do that? I didn't even feel like it was all that helpful. And now I've kind of reframed how it is that I go about unattaching myself to the goal, so to speak. But there are also a lot of steps in here that I think are really important to address before we go into the unattaching part. And so promise you we're going to get to the unattachment. But first, I want to kind of look at the strategics in terms of goal setting and goal fatigue And if you're listening to this episode and you feel like you have goal fatigue, I would love to really pick your brain on some of these really hard questions. So the first question is, was the goal that you set for yourself realistic considering your current growth and your past growth? And now I know that there are so many online marketers who are like, the sky's the limit, whatever you want to believe you can achieve. And yes, those things are true. However, timelines really do matter. And so if you are just starting out in your business and your goal was to, hit 500K in your first year, yes, that could be possible if you're heavily investing in your business, or you already had a previous business that you're now bringing a lot of clientele in from in order to get this new business, sure. But if you're just starting out, you have zero audience, and you are kind of just starting to get to know your content, starting to get to know your growth. If you set out to hit 500K in a year and it doesn't happen within that year, it doesn't mean that it's never going to happen for you. It just means that, okay, it's going to take you a little bit longer than that. And the reason why it's going to take you a little bit longer than that is oftentimes one, strategic. So needing to have specific benchmarks in terms of how many people you're bringing into your community, in terms of what it is that you're selling to them, how much they like the thing that you're selling to them, how many testimonials you can have. There are so many different variants that go into that strategy. And then another really interesting piece of this is also very energetic. And basically what I mean by that is you attract what you're an energetic match for. And so you might tell yourself, I want a 500K year, but if you do not feel like someone who's earning 500K, and if you do not believe that fully, if you've never had that amount of money given to you within a year, chances are you might be self-sabotaging that within the way that your mindset is. So in the way that you think about your business, in the way that you act based on those thoughts, in the way that you feel about your business, and in the way that you invest in your business. Today's episode is brought to you by the Rapid Expansion Method, which is the proven 90-day program to help you sign on consistent higher paying clients and hit that six-figure mark in your business with more leadership, alignment, and flow. So if you are either brand spanking new to your service-based business, or you are having trouble breaking the 2 to 3K mark per month, you need this program. We go all in on exact strategies that you need to sell yourself online and to book out your services solid. Find out what social media strategies are the best for you and your niche, while also being surrounded by brilliant female entrepreneurs who are go-getters just like you and are committed to your success. You can find out more about this incredible program at sarahjlarero.com/the rapid expansion method, or go ahead and look over into our show notes for more information. And so if you're having goal fatigue, one of the first questions that I'd ask you is, was your goal realistic in the first place? Okay, so a lot of people talk about, let's say, for example, 100K launches or whatever launch number that you've really, really wanted. I would also ask yourself, have I done something even similar to that before? So if I want an 100K launch, for example, have I at least gone through a $50,000 launch? Have I gone through a $20,000 launch? Have I gone through a $70,000 launch? Do I know all of the ins and outs of the strategy, the mindset, the energetic work that I need to get there? Because maybe you didn't get there this time, but you learned so much in terms of your mindset, in terms of your energetics, and in terms of the strategy that next time around, you know that you're going to get one step closer to it. And usually when we don't hit our goals, it's not necessarily because there's something wrong with us and that we can't do anything and that we suck or whatever it is that you're trying to tell yourself. It's also because we just need to gain more experience and gain more knowledge about what it is that we're trying to do. And usually what's really, really helpful is, instead of going after that one big goal from the get-go, if you place on yourself a nice stepping stone goal for yourself, you're going to find that you feel so much more abundant with that stepping stone. And oftentimes what I love to teach my clients is, let's say, for example, if we set out for this really, really big goal and we're at the end of a client's launch or we're at the end of a client's month or something like that, and it doesn't look like that goal can be achieved, then we also start to get really familiar and like in full belief of a lesser goal happening, but that's still really good, right? So let's say, for example, if you put out to do 100K in a year, you really want to make 100K in the year, you really want to touch the lives of, let's say, for example, 50 people for that $100,000. And you're at the end of the year, and that program that you were selling to those 50 people, you only have 20 of them in this program. Okay. A lot of people would say like, December, anything can happen. You can totally get those extra 30 people, but you're here in your head and you're telling yourself, no. I only got 20 people the entire year. How am I going to get 30 people in December? Yes, sometimes it happens and it's possible, but if you're not in that full level of belief, it's going to be really, really hard for it to happen. And so a lot of people at that specific point trying to fake the belief. But you can't fake a belief with your thoughts. You need to actually feel it. And that's where that goal fatigue happens, because we're like, no, I'm in full belief, I'm going to do it. But we're not actually feeling that it's possible. And we're not feeling that it's possible, rather than trying to force it and rather than just trying to, create some sort of magic there with your manifestation. It's so much easier to just say, okay, well, how would it feel for me to sign on 25 clients instead of the 20 that I already have? So how would it feel for me to sign an extra 5 clients? And if that feels like it's in your level of belief, if that's a full body yes for you, then isn't it so amazing to hit that goal, to hit the 25 people goal, than it is to say, no, it's either 50 or nothing, but you don't believe it. And at the end of the year, you're not even trying to hit 25 because you already know that you're not going to hit the 50. Does that make sense? So this is really important, and it's been really, really helpful for me to adjust that goal that you have inside of you. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you feel like you're already going to fail. So let's say, for example, if you're at December of this specific year, you're at 20 people in your program, you really, really wanted to sign up 50. It doesn't mean that by saying, okay, I'm going to go for 25. It doesn't mean that you're now saying that you can't do, it's not possible, that you're going to fail. It just means that you're getting behind a specific number or a specific outcome that you're in full belief of. And you're so much more likely to hit that outcome when you feel like it's actually possible. And I've seen this happen so many times. And even with myself, when I have a goal of, let's say, for example, bringing 10 people into a mastermind, but I only bring in 5, and I only have 1 week left, I no longer believe it's possible to get another 5 people at the end. And so what do? I usually stop doing my marketing, stop doing my live, stop doing whatever it is that's actually going to help me get those 5 people. But if I think, okay, all I need is just one more person to complete this group, I just want one, and I'm in total full belief that I'm going to have one, I'm going to do all of the marketing possible because I know that one person is out there. I might not think that there are 5 more out there anymore, but I know that the one is there. And that's so helpful to really just dial down on those goals and recalculate and recalibrate with those goals, and have them as stepping stones, and know that's not a failure. Okay. If you look back at your life 3 years ago, would you have thought that the life that you have now is actually possible? Okay, I'm going to say that again because I feel like it's so important. If you look back at your life right now, 3 years ago, would you have thought that the life that you currently have was even possible? I know for myself, 3 years ago was around 2019, maybe the beginning of 2018. And I would have never guessed that I would have a business that was giving me consistent multiple 6 figures a year. And to be living in my dream home, to be having a very healthy and happy child, a really happy and healthy marriage, and to just really feel at peace with myself. I mean, I was already on my way there, but I couldn't have imagined this. I couldn't have imagined how much amazingness was here. However, the interesting thing too is that at the beginning of 2019, I actually had a goal of hitting $500,000 that year. And so it's interesting because I wouldn't have been able to see and believe that my 3-year goal was possible for me, which I'm making much less than $500K a year right now, but I'm still doing really, really well. And I'm really happy with where I'm at. But I think it's so interesting that I didn't hit that goal, that arbitrary goal that I just kind of put out there that didn't really have a whole bunch of meaning for me. I didn't hit that goal. But if I look back, I probably wouldn't have thought that what I have right now would have been possible for me. And I think that sometimes what happens is we just give ourselves these massive, lofty goals. And when we don't hit them over and over and over and over again, we start to get this goal fatigue. However, if you recalibrate yourself with those goals, and if you feel in full abundance and more of a stepping stone, things become so much easier and they actually become so much more abundant. Another thing I think is just so important here is strategics and the overall strategy and the overall investment amounts that you probably need to hit the goal that you really want to hit. And so I see so many people online feeling like they want to get 20 people into a program, or they want to, hit 6 figures or whatever it is. And one of the most common things that I see my community not doing effectively is bringing high quality leads into their community consistently. And so what happens is they're selling to the exact same 5, 10, 100 people over and over and over again. And then they're wondering why they're not getting any more conversions. Let's say, for example, you launched a program one time around and it did really, really well. And then you launch it the second, the third time, and it's not doing so well anymore. And the reason why is usually because you don't have enough people who are coming in. You don't have enough new people who are coming into your community. Of course, there's so many other things that are really important to note here, like your messaging, your content, how much you're selling. But strategy really does matter. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Every time that I double my income year to year, it's always from a change in strategy. It's always from a change in, okay, this specific thing worked for me in 2021, but now I need to let go of it and I'm going to switch to something different in 2022. And then boom, that's the strategy that I needed in order to scale in a specific way. And if you are not at the level that you want to be at in your business, sometimes it really is a switch in strategy. And so a lot of people will say, okay, well, I've already taken a program like that, right? Like I have a program, the Rapid Expansion Method, which is a group coaching program that helps women hit 6 figures in their businesses and get fully booked out with clients. And I hear a lot of people say, I've already taken a program like that before. And those are usually the people who are stuck because they're interested in doing something new, but then their brain is just like, no, we did something like that before and we failed because we didn't hit XYZ type goal. And when we do that to ourselves, then we're not allowing ourselves to absorb or gain more knowledge and more information versus the people who I know who are doing really, really well. They've taken a whole bunch of the exact same program from different people, but every specific person that you take it from has a different way of teaching it. They have a slightly different strategy. And sometimes that slightly different strategy is what is enough to really put you in alignment in order for you to really hit that next level in your business. And so that's why I say, if you haven't been hitting your goals consistently and you have goal burnout, I would look at what strategies you're using in your business and also what are the investments amounts that you're doing in your business. Because if you purchase like one 5K course or program, let's say 2 years ago, and you're still relying on that one thing to move you forward, you're relying on one strategy you've already seen over and over and over again that you're not implementing it. Maybe you're not doing it effectively, or maybe it's just not working the way that you want it to in your business. And so once you implement a strategy for 90 days and maybe rinse and repeat again, if it's not working the way you want it to, it's time to move on and it's time to get something new. So that's another question for you is your strategy and your investment level in your business, has it been enough to actually reach the goal that you've wanted to reach? That's also really, really helpful and really important. And I would say 9 times out of 10, there's something going on there in that strategy, either in the way you feel about it the way it's unaligned to you, or just really the strategy in and of itself is not an effective strategy for your niche. And that's why it's not working for you. And so the last thing here is really the unattachment to the goals. And so this whole idea of goal fatigue, I know it's so terrible because you get to a place, and trust me, I've gotten there too. So if you're listening to this and if you're like, but you don't know how this feels. No, I totally do. I've gotten to that place before where I'm like, well, should I even make goals for myself? Should I even put those numbers out there? Because, how many times do I actually even reach them? Is this even something that I should be doing anymore? But what I've also seen, what studies show, is that if you don't give yourself a goal, you're not as likely to push as hard, and you're not as likely to be as motivated towards what it is that you want to do. And so it doesn't necessarily need to be an income goal. It also can be an impact goal, right? So I want to have, 20 different clients, and it doesn't matter what programs they come into. I just want to have 20 paying clients this month, let's say, for example. And that is my goal. So it's not necessarily the money that those clients will bring. It's, I want to impact this many souls, and I want them to pay me something for that. And once you have that goal, you're more likely to be motivated towards it. And so it's not necessarily that you need to throw your goals out, right? So goal fatigue, when you experience that, and goal burnout, it's not necessarily that the goals are the problem or you trying to hit goals are the problem. And that's something that I was saying previously when I thought that my goal setting and my shame and my embarrassment and all of those icky feelings that I was always feeling, I thought that they were correlated, but they actually aren't. And they aren't for you either. The reason why you're correlating them, and the reason why you probably don't want to set your goals anymore, is because you're thinking to yourself that anytime that you try to achieve more, that you're always going to fail, and therefore you're always going to shame yourself for it. But there's actually a way to create a goal and stick to the goal. But if you don't hit it, there's a way to not have shame with that. There's a way to dissociate the shame. And when you dissociate the shame and the embarrassment and all of those things, that's when you can really come to a place of unattachment, and also a place of just freedom and abundance. And so I'll give you an example of this. I've always had specific goals in terms of income goals. And the reason why I do that is because I love it. I love having income goals. I love telling my community about my income goals. I love the inspiration and the motivation that brings. However, if I do not need that income to feed myself or to feed my family, and I am missing out on the best version of myself, and if I am missing out on my ultimate happiness because of my goal setting, there's something wrong with that. There's something really, really wrong with that, because this isn't about survival, right? I already have food on the table. I already have my savings. I already have all of these things that ultimately are about survival for me. And so if it's not about survival, and if I'm already happy where I am, then why am I making myself unhappy just because I didn't hit a goal? It seems kind of silly, right? And when you start to understand that your goals have nothing to do with you and how good you are as a human being, and they are just goals, then you start to really set yourself free from the outcome of them, because the outcome is going to be you hit them or you don't hit them. Instead, what you want to focus on is, who am I becoming in the process of trying to achieve this goal? Okay, so we're not going to focus on whether or not we hit it. That's icing on the cake if we hit it or not, right? It has nothing to do with how good of a human being we are or how worthy we are. And so that unattachment is just really, really important. But then the second part of that is, okay, if we're not focusing on the outcome, then what can we focus on? Because we want to focus on something. When you focus on the activity that you're doing on a daily basis, and when you're focusing on the path towards the goal rather than the goal itself, then things change. Then you actually have control over it, because you're not necessarily focusing on the outcome, but you're focusing on who it is that you're becoming as a process of getting to that outcome. So let's say, for example, let's go back to the example of 100K, and you want 50 people. You need 50 people to sign up for your program in a year to hit that 100K, but you only have the 20 people. Okay. If you are outcome focused, you're going to be like, oh my goodness, I still need 30 people to hit this goal. It's December. This isn't possibly going to happen. Then you start to think about all of the things that are wrong with you. Then you start to think about how many people are going to notice that you didn't hit your goal. And then every time that you come to family dinner, people ask you about your business and you didn't hit your goal, even though they have no idea what your goal is. And I'm sure that the 20 people that you're serving is still like a huge wow for so many of them, by the way. But you're going to start to make it mean something about you, right? Then you're going to shame yourself. You're going to feel embarrassed. You're going to feel down, all of that kind of stuff. And it's not even the end yet, right? It's only the end because one, you no longer think it's possible anymore, but also two, because you put this imaginary deadline with it, right? You could have like 20 people coming in for you in January if you switch your strategy or do something different in your business. But because you were dead set on having this happen by the end of December, now you think it's not going to happen. So now you're not even doing anything else and you're just giving up. So that is outcome attachment. And that is what's going to give you the goal fatigue. Okay. Versus being so obsessed with who you're becoming and being so obsessed with that journey and the activity that then you tell yourself, whether or not I make this goal doesn't matter, but how can I fully commit to this process until the end of December and really give it my all? Who do I want to become? How do I want to feel in this process? Do I want to feel like a quitter before December even happens? Or do I want to say, I'm just going to give it my all because I know that there are more people out there. Maybe I'm going to get another 5 people into this program. And I'm instead going to focus on the activity that I need to do between now and the end of December. And when you flip that switch and when you flip that script, then everything becomes so much more fun and so much more freeing, because then it's just like, it doesn't matter. The goal does not mean anything about me. I'm already enough the way I am. I am already worthy as I am. And so if I'm already enough and I'm already worthy, then this goal is just another really fun thing that I'm going to work towards. We often do things like run 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, and the goal is to just have fun, right? So what if you applied the exact same thing to your business and to that goal fatigue? What if it wasn't, I have to have a certain number, I have to make a certain speed at the end of my webinar versus I'm just going to complete it, right? I'm just going to complete this webinar. I'm just going to complete this marathon, this half marathon, whatever it is that you want to complete. And the reason why we're totally fine with the half marathon and just completing it versus the webinar or the strategy or the goal in the business and completing it but not getting the results that we want is because we understand that things like the 5K race, the 10K race, things like that, it's just for fun, right? And of course, you're still going to have your business mean something. It's not just fun. You also want the financials, which is why all of the other things that I just spoke about in terms of strategics come in handy. At the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're also having fun in your business. And you want to make sure that your own happiness isn't being jeopardized just because of a goal and what it is that you are putting on that and the pressure that you're putting on that goal. So I hope that all of this helped you. I know it's helped me a lot, especially within the past few years. And just think about it this way too. If you're the type of person who has a little bit of goal fatigue, and if you have that grit and if you have that fire, that means that you're so much more likely to hit those goals in the near future versus people who are just going to give up. So if you still have it in you, and if you're still thinking about that goal, chances are that you want it badly enough that you're going to make it work. And it's just a matter of time for you as well. So if you liked this episode, it would mean the world to me if you hit subscribe and left me a 5-star review. And if you loved it, please also share it to your socials. You can always get the episode from my website, sarahjlarero.com/podcast. You can check out the show notes in there. And if there's anything that you want me to touch on in another podcast, you can always reach out to me. Tell me how much you liked this one on Instagram. So at Sarah without an H, J Loureiro, that's Loureiro. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show. If you enjoy our show and would like the show notes and free goodies about how to grow your online coaching business, head over to sarahjloureiro.com for more information. We hope you'll tune in next time.